Welcome back. Today's session is going to feature seated but also standing poses, which is very appropriate because our theme is grow. So through this practice, you have been learning techniques on improving strength as well as balance and postural alignment. So if needed, feel free to use a chair to help you with the transition from kneeling to standing, or you can certainly perform some of these exercises in a chair and then standing. So let's begin. In a seated position, nice and tall, feeling the sit bones firmly rooted on your surface. Let's start our body scan from head to toe. So starting with your face, begin to relax the areas surrounding the eyes and the brow, making sure there's no furrowing or frowning. Start to soften the jaw and the cheeks, making sure there's no clenching or grinding, even leaving a little cushion of space between the back teeth. And now let's start to lengthen the neck, lowering the chin toward the chest, initiating a light stretch from the base of the skull all the way out to the distal edges of the shoulders. And with the chin tucked in, gently begin to rotate the head, sweeping the chin from shoulder to shoulder. Good. And slowly bring the head back to neutral, leveling the chin parallel to the floor. And from here, we can release the right ear to the right shoulder. Taking your time, noticing what you feel on the side of the neck. And if there's any guarding or lifting, try to create a little bit of counter pressure by lowering both shoulders away from the ears. And head back to neutral, and let's switch sides. Again, taking your time, easing into it. And slowly bring the head back to neutral. Now start to correct the posture, sitting tall, flattening the shoulder blades completely behind you and feeling the chest opening and lifting, ready to receive that deeper breath. And of course, we could make that adjustment without engaging the core muscles, and remember that includes the abs and the back muscles in this position. And from here, we can release the hands as you rotate the wrists, wiggle the fingers, give your hands a good squeeze, and maybe even flex and extend the wrists. And then gently allow the hands to come to rest. Now from here, we can settle in, quieting the mind as we start to awaken the breath. So when you're ready, with the mouth closed, drawing the air only in and out through the nose, let's start to make that transition. Feeling the breath beginning in the base of the abdomen, and let it rise all the way to the tips of the collarbones, only to release it in reverse. And just taking your time, exploring this nice rhythmic flow, but noticing all those little subtle nuances along the way. Because this breath is so unique and different from your normal natural rate, I want you to focus on those little things like the distension of the abdomen, or that lifting and extending, feeling the rib cage expanding out to the side walls, and take the breath as high as you can all the way to the collarbones, only to release it in reverse. And even imagine, rooted through those sit bones, that you're actually growing out of the earth. So with every inhale, feel the top of the head reaching toward the ceiling, just like a flower emerging from the soil in the spring. And with every exhale, feel yourself again a little bit more grounded and rooted. Now let's continue that quiet focus for 5 more as we prepare to begin. Good. And now we're going to release the hands on either side of the hips. Fingertips lightly resting on the mat, tall spine, and on an inhale, we're going to send those arms straight up toward the ceiling. Now, if you're taking care of the shoulders today, you can always adjust the angle at the shoulder, even bend the elbows. But again, feeling the sit bones rooted, top of the head reaching high, same with the fingertips. And in this position, you should notice those core muscles helping to stabilize you. So now on an exhale, we're going to open the arms out into a T, just like we do in our Warrior Two, shoulders away from the ears, reaching for opposite walls this time. And now on an inhale, we're going to reach to the right, keeping, again, the sit bones firmly rooted. And we're not banking like an airplane. We're keeping the arms parallel to the floor. Exhale all the way to the left. Again, good extension here. Make sure the neck is still flexible and comfortable. Inhale, pass through center, sweep the arms back overhead, energetic reach. And then exhale, open them out to your side. And we're going to attempt to link this one breath, one movement. So take your time. Let's inhale, reach straight up. Exhale, open into your T. Inhale, reach to the right. Exhale all the way to the left. Inhale, pass through center, sweep the arms back overhead. And then exhale, open out. Good. Let's do one more. Inhale to rise. Exhale into your T. Inhale to the right. Exhale all the way to the left. Let's inhale, pass through center, sweep the arms back overhead. And this time on an exhale, we're going to fold forward. So you can release the hands down first. And then, depending on how the hips and the lower back feel, you can start to gently fold a little deeper into a pose that we call clam. And if your legs are crossed, this is going to create a nice stretch also for the hips. If you're seated with the legs extended or even in a chair, maybe notice a little stretch in the lower back. So let's gently rock from side to side, loosening the back a bit more. Good. And slowly return to center, sliding the hands back. And if your legs are crossed, let's switch the position. So whichever leg was in front will now be tucked behind. And this time, hands directly on either side of the hips, palms flat. And we're going to anchor with that right hand. And on an inhale, let's lift the left arm up and over. But again, we want the sit bones rooted, but we're looking for a good, yummy stretch from the base of the arm to the top of the waist. So think about all those muscles that attach to your rib cage. We call those the intercostals. And as you take a deep breath in this position, you're going to feel them stretch as well. We also have larger muscles in the kind of mid to low back. They span the area called your lats. And those get some good lengthening action here as well. On an exhale, slowly release. Let's inhale up and over, opposite side. Now make sure it's comfortable for the shoulder. You can obviously adjust the arm position forward or back, and same with the head. You can look to the inside of the elbow or straight down. But try not to collapse into that side. I want you to lengthen as you extend and reach laterally. Good. Exhale, slowly release. Now one breath, one movement. Inhale, lift and reach. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, up and over, opposite side. Taking your time. Again, moving no faster than the rhythm of your breath. Let's do two more on each side. Maybe even noticing a little bit more depth here in the range of motion, especially as those muscles heat up. So as soon as you complete that final round on that last side, let's allow that hand to come to rest. And once again, we're going to tiptoe the fingers forward, coming into another clam. And just ease into the position. Again, if your legs are crossed, maybe noticing anything different in the presence or release of tension in the outer aspect of the hips, into the glutes and the lower back. And then gently rock from side to side. Good. And slowly return to center. Slide those hands back and we can uncross the legs and let's rock the knees from side to side, loosening up the hips. Good. And coming back to center. Now we're going to make our transition to kneeling. So let's sweep the feet behind us. And once again, if you have anything extra to add to your knees for cushioning, feel free, or you can certainly fold your mat over to add a little extra layer. But we want to explore the alignment, so stacking shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees, and spread the fingers nice and wide so you can feel even distribution of weight in the fingertips as well as the heel of the hand. And we're going to flow through cow and cat. So on an inhale, go ahead and lift the chin, swaying the back, tilting the tailbone up. And on an exhale, nice arch in the back, tucking the chin, shifting the hips forward. Again, slow and steady, without rushing or racing, but embracing that energy and maybe even the release of tension. And as you're balancing the weight evenly on these 4 points, you're also sneaking in a little strength. So give me 2 more. And as you make your way to that final cat arch, we're just going to pass through neutral table, bringing the big toes together, knees open wide. Let's take a brief seat into child's pose. And remember, you can modify this position by simply resting on the forearms and the elbows with the hips elevated. You could even cross the arms under the head or send them forward. And also remember that this is your home base. It's a universal resting place. So if at any point throughout your practice you feel as if you need to take a break, you can always come home here. Good. Now with arms outstretched, palms flat, on an inhale, we're going to slowly rise up, passing through that neutral table, and just let your hips dip. Roll the shoulders back, lifting the chin, exposing the throat, and then exhale. Push back right into child's pose. Again, inhale forward, and we're just creating a little dip. We're not lowering the hips to the floor, just seeking out a stretch in the front and back body. And then push back. Let's do 3 more. Adding a little bit more strength and energy to the pectoral girdle and the shoulders on that forward motion. And again, you can adjust the intensity. Listen to your body, honoring your limits. And as you make your way to that final hip drop, we're going to slowly return to a neutral table position. Again, nice flat back. Now we're going to add a little bit more strength here. So when you're ready, from table, on an inhale, we're going to extend out with that left leg, toes on the mat. Leveling the hips, navel's drawn in, and then if you'd like to take it a step further, just start to lift the foot away from the floor, but no higher than parallel to the floor, just enough to engage the glutes and the muscles of the lower back, those spinal erectors. If by chance the forearms or the wrists become fatigued, you can always rest on the elbows and still get the same energetic strengthening action. So we want the back flat, and in this case we're working the entire core. So we've got the abs, we have a little bit of the hip flexors here, as well as the back and the glutes. But you can also extend out with that right hand, coming into full expression of spinal balance, also known as bird dog. And we want to keep the gaze focused toward the floor to help keep the cervical spine in line. And again, deep breaths. Good. On an exhale, let's release the hand followed by the knee, giving your spine a deep cat arch, breathing into your back. Big toes together, knees open wide. Let's take a seat into child's pose. Now, with the inclusion of a little bit more strength in the upper extremities, go ahead and rotate the wrists. Wiggle the fingers, maybe give your hands a good squeeze, letting go of any tension that we may have created. Natural occurrence whenever we're utilizing the upper extremities to balance our body weight. But now make sure that you're smiling and sweet talking those muscles and doing all of that on the opposite side. So when you're ready, let's inhale, return back into your table. Full or modified. Nice flat back, and on the inhale, we're going to extend out with that right leg and lift it. Toes in the knee pointing straight down, navel's drawn in. Again, back is strong, and once you feel that balance, that left arm should want to float up on its own. If you ever feel stuck in the pose, just to reset the alignment, because sometimes if it's off even by a hair, it can affect your comfort and performance in a pose. And never feel like you have to muscle through. Take a break if you need to. We never want to jeopardize the health and safety of our muscles or soft tissues just for the sake of getting into a pose. That is not practicing yoga or mindfulness. Good. Exhale, release the hand followed by the knee. Give your spine another deep cat arch, breathing into your back. Big toes together, knees open wide. Let's take a seat into child's pose. Again, any variation that's comfortable for you, but do take the time to rotate your wrists, wiggle the fingers, and give your hands a good squeeze. Excellent. Now on an inhale, we're going to slowly rise back up into our table. But it's time for us to grow away from the comfort of the floor, making our transition to standing. So if you created cushion for the knees, this would be the perfect time to flatten out your mat so we have a flat, stable surface. Reset the alignment. And again, if you're taking care of the hips, your back, or your wrists, you can use a chair or a wall to help you stand up in any manner that's comfortable for you. But if you'd like to try the transition from downward facing dog, we'll simply tuck the toes under, and on an exhale, begin to lift your hips up and back. And we're basically creating an inverted V with the body. And this is going to activate the hamstrings and the calves, so feel free to bend the knees to give them some slack. Those long, sinewy fibers can be rather tight because those leg muscles support you on a daily basis. But that tightness may be an indication that we need to stretch those muscles a little bit more. So let's start to bend one knee at a time, alternating slowly from side to side, just deepening that stretch in the hamstrings, the calves, and even your back. And let's return to a static down dog position. And on an inhale, let's step the feet forward, coming into a forward fold. Now, if you have a stack of books nearby, or maybe even a stool, you can rest your hands on that. This is a yoga block, and this is designed to be an assistive device which basically bridges the gap between my hands and the floor. Now, if you don't have those things, no worries. You can also bend your knees and just rest your elbows and forearms on the thighs. Just make sure that, again, you're being mindful of your range of motion and comfort. Also, if you're taking care of blood pressure, high or low, you may want to keep your head a little higher than the heart. Good. Hands to the thighs. Now we can scoop the tailbone down and under and slowly rise up to standing. And let your head be the last thing that levels off, just so that we don't get dizzy or bottom out. And maybe even find a spot on the floor to direct your gaze to help with your balance. Good. Now, we're going to start to strengthen the lower extremities a bit more from standing. So we want our feet roughly hip distance apart so that the hips are over the knees, knees are over the ankles. And I want you to push your feet into the floor and feel that energy kind of zipping up through the hamstrings into the glutes. And we're standing straight but without locking the knees, but squeezing the muscles of the glutes, navel's drawn in, top of the head is reaching for the ceiling, and maybe even rotate your forearms so that your palms are facing forward. And we call this pose mountain. Very strong foundation, which is the root of many of our standing poses. Good. Now, let's bring some energy into this. So on an inhale, we're going to sweep the arms out and around and start to sit slightly back into chair. So we're creating this little zigzag position with the body. Give a little peek to make sure that you can see the toes well beyond your knee line. And maybe even test out the pressure in your feet. We want to feel the four corners of the soles of the feet. So notice if the pressure is more into the balls of the feet. If so, that could cause us to topple forward. Same thing, if we had too much pressure in the heels, that might cause us to stumble back. So we want to find that happy medium. And even wiggle your toes just to make sure that they're not digging in. Now on an exhale, let's rise up, squeeze the glutes and float your arms down to your side. It's going to feel like flying. So on an inhale, let's sit back into our chair. You choose the depth that's comfortable for you, and exhale, rise. Slow and steady. Inhale, chair. Exhale, rise. Good. Let's do 3 more. And as you make your way to that last one, let's go ahead and lower and hold it. Nice strong core, keeping the back flat. If your back is fatigued, you can place your hands on your thighs for support. Good. And slowly rise up. Let's roll the shoulders toward the back. Lower the chin toward the chest and roll the shoulders forward. And then set the shoulders down and back. And from here, we're going to practice transitioning our weight back. So be very mindful of where your monitor is, and we're just going to shift the weight into one foot and step back with the other and give me a quarter turn so you're facing the long edge of your mat. So nice soft knees. Let's inhale, send the arms up, cross them overhead, and then bend the knees as you exhale, fold and scoop. Inhale, rise and cross. Exhale, fold and scoop. So coming into our sunflowers. Using good body mechanics, so pushing with both feet, protecting the back, using the legs to lift. 2 more. And as you make your way to that final lift, we're just going to exhale, fold, and hold the low position. Now, once again, you have the option. If you're taking care of the hamstrings and they're feeling a little tight, you can bend the elbows and just rest them on the thighs. If you have access to some assistive device, whether it's a stack of books or a chair, you can place your hands there for a little lift. But if you're comfortable, you can certainly release the hands all the way to the floor, but I want you to focus on lengthening the spine. In whatever version you're in, so top of the head reaches forward, sit bones are reaching back, and we're just helping to release some of the compression forces in those spongy discs on the spine. Even give your toes a little wiggle. Now let's anchor with that right hand, and on an inhale, we're going to lift and twist with the left. And remember, a few weeks ago, we practiced this using a chair, and that is certainly an option for you. So listen to your body and what feels good for you today. Again, that's part of our growth. If you're taking care of that shoulder, you can always cross the arm behind the back, breathing deeply wherever you are. Good. Rotate your head to look down. Let's release the hand. We're going to march the hands now to that left foot and just start to lunge into that knee, sitting slightly back so that we're loading weight into the hamstrings and the glutes. Both feet are flat, but while you're strengthening on the lunge side, you're also lengthening on the opposite side. Good. Let's come back to center, anchor now with that left hand. Let's inhale, reach and twist with the right. Or you can cross that arm behind the back. Breathing deeply. Good. Inhale, rotate your head to look down. Exhale, release that hand, and we're going to march the hands now to that right foot, lunging into that knee. You choose the depth. It needs to be comfortable for your knees and your hip. And at the same time, maintaining that good length on the opposite side, both feet flat. Good. And coming back to center. Nice soft knees, hands to the thighs. Scoop the tailbone under as you slowly rise up. Excellent. Now, we're going to make our transition or our exit the same way we entered, but make sure that we keep the knees safe. So starting with what will be your rear foot, we're going to pivot, allowing that hip to lead the way. And then start to pivot your forward foot. Coming off of the rear heel, let's spring load the knee and just step forward into mountain. Excellent. Now we're going to make our transition back to the mat. So let's inhale, send the arms up, energetic reach. And on an exhale, swan dive, forward fold, hinge from the hips. Your back's going to feel a little tight, totally normal here. Again, you can modify resting the forearms on the thighs. Bend the knees even more to flatten the palms, and we're going to step one foot at a time into plank like an up push-up. You could lower the knees to modify here. And then exhale, just shift your hips back into that downward facing dog. And then on your next exhale, gently, slowly, softly lower the knees, uncurl the toes. Let's take a well-deserved break into your child's pose. Bravo, ladies and gentlemen. Breathing from shoulder to shoulder and hip to hip. Again, taking inventory of what you feel and how you feel at this point in your practice. And on the inhale, let's slowly rise up. And we're going to walk the knees to the left, lower the hips to the right. And from here, we can just swing the feet forward. Taking a moment to notice how the back is responding. Feet are flat. Give a quick peek behind you. We're going to make our transition to the back. So once again, to protect the back, let's lower to one side, coming on to the elbow, followed by the shoulder, and then follow through onto your back. Walking the heels back to let your lower back soften. And then one at a time, we can bring the knees into the chest, open the arms out into a T. And when you're ready, on an exhale, let's float the knees to the floor on the right. Tucking them in and letting them go. Relaxing through the shoulders as you rotate your head to the left. Breathing deeply. Good. Inhale, return back to center. Let's exhale, slowly guide the knees to the floor on the left. Again, tucking them in and letting them go. Relaxing through the shoulders as you rotate your head to the right, but with eyes closed, breathe deeply. Enjoying the sensations of this final spinal twist. Inhale, bring the knees back through center. Keep them tucked in for a moment, hands on the top edges of your knees, and on an exhale, let's tuck in nice and tight to your cannonball, softening everything from the base of the neck down to the waist. And slowly unroll, lowering one foot at a time. And from here, you get to choose how you'd like to close out your practice. You could stay right here with the knees bent, or you can extend your legs out the length and width of your mat, ending in full Shavasana. Even release the arms down to your sides, palms facing up, inviting the eyes to close, and take one more deep cleansing breath, returning to your normal natural rate. And then soften the face with a smile, honoring yourselves for taking this time out today, just for you. And let's savor the fruits of your practice as you take rest. Good. Now slowly begin to bring your awareness back to your extremities. Wiggling the fingers and the toes, and rotate the wrists and the ankles. And slowly sweep the arms back behind you for one final torso stretch as you reach through those fingers and toes, arching the back, taking a deep breath here. And then relax the spine, drawing the knees in one at a time, wrapping the arms around them for another big hug. And slowly roll to one side, holding here for 3 deep, easy breaths, preparing the mind and body to make that transition back into your day. And only when you're ready, using the strength of your arms, let's slowly rise up to a comfortable seated position at the head of your mats. Wonderful job today. I hope you enjoyed this opportunity to experience just how you've grown in your practice. Let's stay tuned for your mindful moment. This week's mindful prompt is grow. Now, growth is action-oriented and requires daily care and awareness. Through your yoga sessions, you're actively learning and practicing new mind-body techniques designed to promote a healthy lifestyle. And your intentional efforts can yield a fruitful harvest. So please allow the gaze to soften or invite your eyes to close and take the next 2 minutes to sit quietly and reflect on what growth means for you. you.